Be a 9mm on this aftermarket intake. Could differ, could be 8mm, 9, 7mm, quarter. A little bit of WD-40 works great. Don't damage the little bushings. It'll pop out, spin it back in. Vacuum hose right there. Pull it out. We found the easiest way to get to these parts is to use a 30 Torx 30 right here on these and just remove the radiator. Gives you a lot of room to work in. And then just take this and just kind of gently bring it up over this hose and out of the way. And you're going to have two tabs. One's going to be located right underneath this hose grouping, right there. And just what we want to do is we want to just kind of take this and just push it in. Like that. And then over here, there's another one. These are going to get more brittle the older these cars get. Push that in just a little bit. Okay, maybe going to grab down here in the fan. Be careful and ginger with it. And then there we go. She's out. Last but not least, we've got the fan controller right here. I'm going to pull it out of these little pop things where it slides in like that. Push the little tabs back, open it up. We're going to open this little red piece, push the tab, it should just come apart. Kind of a pain. Get it out of there so you can work with it like that. And then we'll just push that up, and this should unconnect. And then we got to get the fan out, and the easiest way to do that is to bring it up over the catch and drop it down. You'll be very ginger with it. There's a hose down here, a little radiator hose that you got to be careful of right there. And then we're gonna kind of pull it out a little bit. We're gonna bring it up over this lower radiator hose on the driver's side. We're gonna tilt the fan down. We're gonna make sure that these tabs clear this hose. And you're just gonna have to, and then you're gonna have to, right here, you're gonna have to make sure that this, right there, this clears that. Kind of pull that up just a little bit. Make sure you grab your connector. Pull it forward just a little bit. And then pass this upper radiator hose. And maybe down a little bit on the other side. Ever so gingerly. And again, pull it, and then just kind of pull it out like that. Okay, on this diverter valve, it appears that you can adjust it. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's not in the way of the bolts so that you can access them. This is the one we're going to go on with first. Just take this right here, push it up until it stops, and push it on the top, bring that in, should open up just like that. All right, this is an aftermarket diverter valve, but removing this is going to be just like removing a stock one. Notice we're not using a quarter again. As we found this just a little easier to get to. So we're just going to get them a little loose. Get that bottom one a little loose. We're going to take it off. We're going to fish around here because this one's the hardest one to get. We should have had to go on with the new one, easiest. And now we got that on there locked. You just kind of hand screw it out. Gonna probably fall. We'll get that later. This is why we're removing the radiator fan assembly, because it sure makes it a lot easier to get in here and do this. Now we're going to disconnect these aftermarket vacuum hoses. You're not going to have this on your stock diverter valve. Just usually give them a little twist. Be careful, you can cut them. If you cut them, they're not going to work. So we're going to be pulling this out of here. That's why I'm being a little aggressive with it. You don't want to do that if you're just taking it out. We're not going to be reusing these with this this other diverter valve. Okay, you're going to take a little bit of grease, just a light grease, and we're going to use this white grease just kind of as a demonstrator so you can see it show up instead of black grease. Is what I normally use, a little bit of EP Moly or something, just very light coating on this O-ring. You don't get too much on there, but it's a good idea to go ahead and coat these so they'll get a good seal. And make sure that they're nice and flush inside those holes. And the same with this one, just a little bit, not a lot. Just enough to just spread it all the way over. Okay, and we're going to put that right in there. Do the same thing. Now we're ready to install it after we wipe off any excess that might get in there. Could mess up a mass airflow sensor or whatnot. So these are the factory screws that came out. You can't use those. They won't. The heads won't go in the recess part. These are for screwing it into metal. As you can see, they flush drop in. But we're going to use these that were provided in the kit that are very similar to the same threads, but they're also Torx. It's probably going to be a 25 or a 30. Let's find out real quick. It's going to be a 30 just like factory. That's good. And we'll go ahead and start with this one. No debris inside there or anything. Nice and clean. And then we're going to start with this screw on this side like this. We're going to put it in there. We're going to hand twist it in until it's just kind of snug where we need to wrench it. And that's the easiest way to get that one in the back on and off. Then you can take the other ones, put them in the screw head, put them in the holes. So just get all of them in there before we start tightening them down. And make sure they're all aligned correctly. I'm gonna go back with our little Mac quarter ratchet wrench. I'm gonna tighten them down good and snug, or the German spec, good and tight. Go back to this back one. I can't even see it, so don't be upset if you can't see it on the camera, the video. It's real hard to see. Kind of gotta go by feel. Okay, there we go. Nice and snug. Okay, let's check the other ones. Work our way around. Watch that radiator. Make sure you don't come into that radiator. That one's snug. And now it's snug. That's good. Last but not least, we're going to put in this little connector. So this is a factory connector adapter. It's going to go in like that, and they're going to push that little red lock down. And then this one is going to go, I'm going to kind of push that up in there. We don't want that to get into the fan. And then we're going to take this one, and we're going to put it right like that. Now, if you don't like where that's located, you can actually swivel this thing around like we talked about before. So you want to kind of get that out of the way of this fan assembly. And now we're going to put the fan assembly back in. We're done with that part. We're going to put the radiator back in. We're going to make sure that this is out of the way and that this little hose is out of the way. And zip tie that up or something. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drop this down like this. Pretty much the reverse way we came in. And then what we're going to do, we're going to clear this upper radiator hose here. Just be careful with it. Drop this wiring around this hose. Just keep wanting to go down. there. And I'm going to bring it back in. Bring it come above the little locks on both sides. I'm going to make sure it's flush on the bottom too. You might want to crawl underneath there and take a look. I can tell you that that's right. I'm going to 2 clicks. There you go. Boom, boom. And that's in there. And now we're going to reconnect this wire. We're going to use a little bit of dielectric grease for corrosion resistance. We're just going to put a little bit in there like that. And we're going to lock this thing back down. Locks, and then we're going to push the little red cap. And then we've got this protector on top of here. We're going to make sure that that goes back on like it's supposed to. And we're going to lock it back down into this little bracket here. So I'm going to get that better illuminated for you. There's a little bracket right there. And it's going to set right on the top. This hose gets in the way. I'm going to make sure that this little top piece, this little protector piece, is still good. And that's it. Important to remember anytime you have a cold side hose or whatever, or even a coolant hose, there's this lip right here. You want to make sure that when you clamp this down, it's not on top, it's behind the lip. What you're trying to do is clamp the hose, this part right here, over this, and then clamp it down. So the hose probably needs to go to about here, and then the clamp, you want a little overhang here so it doesn't slip off. And then that way when it clamps down, the hose is going to be here. It makes a good tight seal around here that doesn't come off. I'm going to go ahead and go back on with this. Now we'll get the hose tightened up. Last but not least, you want to make sure that you return this coolant hose bracket back to the radiator fan shroud assembly. So it's not bouncing around in there. It's hot if you have been running. This part's going to be pretty hot if you've been running the vehicle for a while. So be careful, or use gloves, or do it when it's cold. Again, torque spec, good and tight. That's good. Once you get that hose clamp aligned and the hose intake, then you can just tighten it back up. Kind of feel around, make sure everything's fitting right, and that as you can see the little bump right there on that ridge. If you look, you see a little bump right there. And that's what you want. Last but not least, you want to make sure you reattach your little vacuum hose. All the way to the edge.